Good morning. This is Inga Cotton, and I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. And I'm online this morning for another Charter Moms chat, as I want to try to reach out and share good ideas with the community while we can't have in-person events. We can't meet face-to-face, but we can make the most of our digital media. So the topic I wanted to talk to today is how our local museums are going virtual, and they have resources that can help you while you're educating your kids at home. And I wanted to acknowledge a debt to some local reporters who've shared some helpful resources here. So one is Deborah Martin, who's kind of the arts theater reporter at the San Antonio Express News, and she did a really good roundup about what local museums are doing as far as virtual tours and lesson plans and things you can download. And then also Jack Morgan, who's the arts and culture reporter at Texas Public Radio. So thank you, and support local media. Consider getting an online digital subscription to the Express News, or become a member at Texas Public Radio or Rivard Report, because now more than ever we really need their news to keep us safe, and we need to be able to know what's going on in the world while we're kind of stuck at home and waiting for things to get better out there. So I have a visual aid this time. I have these are some of our membership cards that we have not been able to use in person lately, but this is going to kind of prompt me as I talk about each museum and what they're doing. So okay, so I want to start with, here's our membership at the Briscoe, which is a really fun museum down on the Riverwalk, and they have it's a museum of Western art. They have a lot of works by Native Americans, and they have historical artifacts like Santa Anna's sword, and saddles from the Rio Grande Valley from the 17th century. They have a collection of spurs. They have a lot of artifacts about the Alamo. So if you haven't been, as soon as the restrictions get lifted, I encourage you to go. And they have wonderful activities. They had to move their big fundraiser, the Night of Artists, to be an online event. And that event is something they really depend on. It's a great way to learn about contemporary artists who are working in Western art. So they have digital activities related to that. The thing you can access now, if you go to their website, they have printables and coloring pages, and they're working on more stuff like virtual tours. And there's actually a Briscoe mobile app you can download, and they're working on more features for that. So okay, so that's the Briscoe. Okay, so what else do I have in my deck of cards here? So here we go. Here's our McNay membership card. So at the McNay, if you go to their website, they have something they've had for a long time. They've had lesson plans. And they were kind of geared towards teachers, because the McNay hosts a lot of school field trips. And actually, we've had, my kids have gone on. I've helped chaperone field trips at the McNay. They have really excellent docents, and that's something we're missing out on right now is, hearing the wisdom from the docents, like the good questions they ask the students. But they have the lesson plans online. These have been resources they made for teachers, but as parents, we can use them too. So you can go to the website for the McNay, access their lesson plans, and the nice thing is these are local resources. So you're tapping into the wisdom of our local experts at the museums, and your kids will be seeing things in these materials, and then once the museums open up again, they'll go back and be like, oh, that's where that is. I remember seeing that online, and now I'm seeing it in person. So they'll be hopefully a little bit starstruck to get to get to see the art in real life. And so they've got some fun challenges, like they'll feature like a work of art from the exhibit and see if you can pose like that. So good social media challenge. But so go to the McNay website and check out their Facebook page for things like lesson plans and the social media challenges. And they've got it ties in with their current exhibit. So they have an exhibit about fashion that you can't see in person right now, but you can download the resources. Okay, so what else is in my deck of cards? Okay, here we go. We have San Antonio Museum of Art. Ooh, and you see we have the reciprocity sticker, right? Because around this time of year, we usually get the itch to go to Houston and check out the Museum of Fine Arts and use our reciprocity benefits. So not now, but when things open up again, we will come back, Houston. Okay, so Sama, they also have lesson plans, and this goes back years. I remember, so my son, who's now in 7th grade, back when I homeschooled him when he was 6 years old for 1st grade, we would go almost every week to do an art activity at the San Antonio Museum of Art. And they were geared towards, they were ideal for probably the pre-K4 crowd, but really a 6-year-old can have just as much fun as a 4-year-old doing the arts and crafts. And they had really engaging teachers, and they would tie in whatever the craft was with, some, real artwork from the Sama collection. So that I have really happy memories of doing, homeschool art field trips with my son at the San Antonio Museum of Art. Well, they have brought those online with kind of an art and story time component. So so you can check those out. Again, go to the samuseum.org website, and they have also on their Facebook page. So that's some. Okay, what else do we have in our membership stash here? Here we go. So here is the Witte Museum, which is one of our favorites. Also, many happy homeschool memories there. Okay, so one of the great strengths at the Witte Museum is they have these great actors who kind of recreate characters from Texas history. Not so much like pretending to be a famous person, but just to represent like a way of life, right? Like, so if you're a woman on the frontier, and how you would have cooked and fed your family and managed a farm and things like that, and then like ranch life, chuck wagon cooking, things like that. So so the Witte Museum it's called Witte Where You Are, right? So we're at home. The interactors are at the Witte, but they're still in character, and they're still teaching us about Texas history. So that's an engaging way to cover your history parts of homeschool. So that's up at the Witte Museum, and so we'll see what else they come up with. They've got a pretty creative team there. Okay, so what else is in our stash? Here's my Museum membership card. So the Museum has Do It at Home, and they also have Ask a Doer. So Richard Kessel is their education lead, and he's inviting kids to ask questions, and then he'll try to answer them. So if you go to their website or on their Facebook page, you can find the email address to submit questions for Ask a Doer. Let's see, the Museum also, so they've kind of dug around in their archives and found art projects that related to past exhibits, like guest artists that are fun to do now. So they've dug into their archives, but they're creating new stuff, and they also they're offering online story times, things like that. So check out the Museum website and also the Museum Facebook page for so there's kind of a STEM side to it, right? How does stuff work? And then there's also like the arts and literature stuff too, through the story time and the projects. So that's what's up at the Museum online. And what else? Okay, so this is technically not a museum, but the San Antonio Botanical Garden. Spring is happening there, and they are going to on their social media, they're taking on little virtual tours of kind of what's in bloom. And so for those of us who are habitual botanical garden growers, it hurts me inside to be missing spring at the botanical garden. But at least through social media, we can kind of live vicariously and see what's blooming. So now I don't have a membership card for SAMSAT, but that is a pretty cool place if you haven't been. So the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology is located at Port San Antonio. It's in what used to be the chapel down at Kelly Field, and entrepreneur David Monroe has an amazing collection of cool science junk. It's not really junk, it's really cool stuff. It's like, Edison era light bulbs and like data point computer prototypes, Tesla coils that play like a synthesizer. It's a really cool place. So again, when the restrictions are lifted, I highly encourage you to go. And it's when we're not under quarantine, it's open, it's free on Saturdays, and they have tours. So what they're doing in the meantime is, normally in the summer, they do really cool camps, like a space camp. And my kids have gone. They are taking some of the camp type experiences online, right? So things like robotics. And so Jack Morgan interviewed Cliff Zingraf, and I just tweeted that link out this morning. So if you go to SHR Moms on Twitter, you can find that link, or search for Jack Morgan's story about SAMSAT on the TPR website. So that'll cover some of your STEM activities. So I mean, there's so much good stuff out there. We, members of the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group have been sharing stuff. It can feel a little overwhelming, how much is out there, and for us, we have such close ties to our local museums. We have memberships, we're regular visitors, and we miss the museums. That's a big difference between kind of quarantine schooling versus homeschooling. When I did it before with my son, we're not able to go to so many places, but taking out these online resources, it's a way to add a little enrichment, remind them of familiar places, and even it feels overwhelming how much is out there, but if you look at the local stuff, that could be a good place to start. And there's a lot of homegrown talent in San Antonio that's wanting to help parents make this experience better, and help us kind of bond with our kids and have make good memories of what this time, not the scary stuff, but remember like the togetherness. So okay, so that is what I wanted to share. Again, I want to acknowledge a debt to Jack Morgan at Texas Public Radio and Deborah Martin at the Express News for doing such good local arts and museum coverage. I encourage you to subscribe and support local media because they are keeping us safe and keeping us sane these days. So I will be back online tomorrow around 9 a.m. And the topic I wanted to talk to, it was kind of a hot topic in the group. Sort of how do parents feel about teachers these days? So on the one hand, we are really thankful for the resources that they are sharing with us. On the other hand, parents are having to step in and do a lot of work ourselves. So, I want to express gratitude to the teachers, but also acknowledge the stress that parents are under and recognize that a lot of teachers are parents themselves. So they're having to homeschool their kids and prepare lessons for our kids at the same time. So, so if you have thoughts or questions about, what teachers are experiencing, what parents are experiencing, kind of how this experience that we're all going through may change how parents perceive teachers, whether we are more grateful for them or whether we feel like we're under a burden right now, drop a comment. I'll start a thread in the group to ask for your input. And that's what we're going to talk about on Thursday. And then on Friday, my family's going to take a break. We're going to go on a trail walk. Those are still open, but just keep in mind, the local parks, state parks, San Antonio River Authority, most parks are closed this weekend. So even though it's Easter weekend, we need to find different ways to observe the season and stay home. So, but the trails are still open. That's where we'll be on Friday instead of online. So yes, I'll be online on Thursday. I'll be back on Monday. Please post in the discussion group. Tell us what's on your mind, what you want us to cover. Take care.